last time. This is my last video for my notes on House of Leaves. The end is nigh. And we're gonna bang this one out, man. Let's do it. We are on Appendix 2F. I just finished the Whalestow letters. And we're gonna hop on in here. Start on page 646. As always, you can follow along with my notes on Google Docs. I'll try and update them. On my own document viewer, my Open Office Writer, because I'm not giving Microsoft any more money than what they need. Open Office Writer. I have 157 pages of notes. So yeah, this is quite a journey it's been. But let's get into it. Okay. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. It says it attributes here to Anonymous, but it's from a song called Isle of Beauty by Thomas Haynes Bailey. And this is a larger part of the poem here, or the song. While the waves are around me breaking as I pace the deck alone, and mine eye in vain is seeking some green leaf to rest upon, what would I not give to wander where my old companions dwell? Absent makes the heart grow fonder, Isle of Beauty, fare thee well. So I highlighted the word leaf because it's the House of Leaves, right? Okay. Then we have Le Cure. I could barely pronounce some words in English. I'm not even going to try in French. But Le Cure, that beginning there, that phrase is translated as the heart has its reasons which reason knows not. And it's from the book Pensées by Pascal. And Pensées means thoughts in French. It's about his religious conversion and how you can only know the truth by using the heart as reason tries to impugn it. Using only reason is a labor to no purpose. The C.G. Jung quote is from Mind and the Earth. And he basically, this book is about how the earth has an unconscious effect on the mind. Earth seems to mold or influence mind in subtle ways, shaping our behavior and thoughts without us realizing it. Different places impact the minds in different ways. So like how the hallway is affecting them in the book, perhaps. Or how the Whalestow is affecting the way Pelafina thinks. Who knows? Je ne vois qu'une fenêtre partout la fenêtre. It's from a poem called The Abyss, found in Flowers of Evil by Baudelaire. He's also quoted on page 147, the epigraph for chapter 11. And then this is a larger part of the quote here. Pascal, who we already talked about, Pascal had his abyss that moved along with him. Alas, all is abysmal, action, desire, dream, word, and over my hair which stands on end I feel the wind of fear pass frequently. Above, below, on every side, the depth, the strand, the silence, space, hideous and fascinating. On the background of my nights, God with clever hands sketches an unending nightmare of many forms. I am afraid of sleep as one is of a great hole, full of obscure horrors, leading one knows not where. I see only infinite through every window. And my spirit, haunted by vertigo, is jealous of the insensibility of nothingness, never to go out from numbers and beings. So I made a note here about Pascal. So Blaise Pascal describes the human condition as an infinite abyss, or a void within the heart stemming from a lost true happiness. He argued that this inner emptiness is vainly filled with finite worldly distractions and can only be satisfied by an infinite and immutable object, God. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So that quote is Je ne vois. I see only infinite through every window. So this describes the hallway here. If we go over to 647, we get a quote from Goethe, That's how I'm going to say it. I looked up how to pronounce it and I completely forget. Goethe? Goethe? You can see what I'm saying. He's also quoted on page 123 and 589. This is from the poem called The Chinese-German Book of House and Seasons, Part 2. He was a poet, but, not very good with naming poems. Twilight sinks down from above us, swiftly all the nearer is far. But first, shining high above us, radiant is the evening star. Everything is drifting vaguely, mist steals upwards to the height, and the still lake mirrors darkly black abysses of the night. Now in all the eastern distance I suspect moons gleam and glow, slender willows trailing branches dally with the neighboring flow. Through the play of moving shadows trembling lunar magic shines, and a soothing coolness follows to the heart now through the eyes. That's where that quote is from. Everything near becomes distance. Swiftly all the nearer is far. That's how it's translated in this poem. United Dames of America. Trying to see what my notes don't make any sense here, do they? Oh, okay. I know what's going on here. Sorry. I don't edit, so you're getting like these full confusions. This part is an epitaph to the poem United Dames of America. I just copied and pasted it like that. Okay. So the epitaph to this poem is Je taste un restant exact d'être poète. I strive while remaining accurate to be a poet. And this is the poem United Dames of America. There are not leaves enough to cover the face it wears. This is the way the orator spoke. The mass is nothing, the number of men in a mass of men is nothing. The mass is no greater than the singular man in a mass. Masses produce each one its paradigm. There are not leaves enough to hide away the face of the man of this dead mass and that. The wind might fill with faces as with leaves, be gusty with mouths and with mouths crying and crying day by day. Could all these be ourselves, sounding ourselves, our faces circling round a central face, and then nowhere again, away and away. Yet one face keeps returning, never the one, the face of the man of the mass, never the face that hermit on reef sable would have seen, never the naked politician taught by the wise. There are not enough leaves to crown, to cover, to crown, to cover. Let it go, the actor that will at last acclaim our end. And I thought, this line, the face of the man in the mask, kind of reminded me of a face in the cloud, not a trace in the crowd. About author inserting themselves into the text, getting frustrated at your writing and just saying, let it go. Just let the poem be without you. So once you put it out there, there's going to be other faces, other leaves, other pages, other experiences coming to the story. Young Pliny is a dude. Sorry. It's like the 6th video I filmed today about House of Leaves. I'm starting to lose it. This is from a letter that he wrote to Tacitus about the death of his uncle. So it's one of these poems on this page. I'm not going to find it. It doesn't matter. Oh, here it is. You asked me to send you an account of my uncle's death. He says, the full quote that I thought was relevant here is, I think that those people are highly favored by Providence who are capable either of performing deeds worthy of the historian's pen or of writing histories worthy of being read. So you're either... It's kind of lucky to be someone who can make history or to write about history. He hesitated for a moment whether to turn back, and then when the helmsman warned him to do so, he exclaimed, "Fortune favors the bold," which we see on page 613. So his uncle was on a ship heading to save people after Vesuvius erupted, and he died in the aftermath of the eruption, possibly suffocated by the smoke. Ash, like the tree house, is on Ash Tree Lane. This quote at the bottom, I think it's in French. Sure. It's also can be translated into Latin as an irum quod est iris quod sum, which reminded me of the non sum qualis irum. And this is actually painted on the skull of this thing. This is in Romanian. I thought that was really weird. It's kind of like a the quote means what you are, I was, what I am, you will be, and it's kind of a memento mori, like a reminder that we all die. Okay, the texts on these pages are all the same text in different languages. It's about Agamemnon trying to get the attention of his troops after he's given a false dream from Zeus about attacking Troy. By wisdom, through wisdom is, and house builded, and by understanding it is established. This is a kind of a quote from Proverbs 24, chapter 24, verses 3 to 4. By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. We have this quote from Izumi Shikibu, who's a female poet from the mid-Heian period in Japan. She had many lovers. On page 709, deeply bedded root that I desire, not the flower. We have this quote that says, its roots must hold up the sky. Tenuous connections, but sometimes they lead somewhere. And as always, these videos are not about me making the connections. It's just kind of me like noticing them and pushing things out there, and hopefully the theories come later. This is like the homework before you write the essay. 651, again, we have Pliny, natural history. Here he is talking about labyrinths. So one still exists in England, or not in England, wow, in Egypt, in the nome of Heracleopolis. Various reasons are suggested for its construction. Demosthenes supposes it to have been the place of Motirus, and Lysias, the tomb of Morius, while many writers state that it was erected as a temple to the sun god, and this is the general belief. Whatever the truth may be, there is no doubt that Daedalus adopted it as the model for the labyrinth built by him in Crete, that he reproduced only 100th part of it, containing passages that wind, advance, and retreat in a bewildering, intricate manner. The ground plan and the individual parts of this building cannot be fully described. And this is, he wrote it somewhere in this section. That's where I copied and pasted this information from. Herodotus wrote about the Egyptian labyrinth. The Egyptians made a labyrinth which surpasses even the pyramids. It has 12 roofed courts with doors facing each other, 6 face north and 6 south in 2 continuous lines, all within one outer wall. There are also double sets of chambers, 3,000 altogether, 1,500 above and the same number underground. We learned through conversation about the labyrinth's underground chambers. The Egyptian caretakers would by no means show them as they were, they said, the burial vaults of the kings who first built this labyrinth, and of the sacred crocodiles. The upper we saw for ourselves, and they are creations greater than human. That's more information about the labyrinths there. Galileo, famous dude, might have heard about him. He said, mathematics is the language of science. Only through mathematics can one achieve lasting truth in physics. Talked a lot about perception versus reality, and how our senses are perceptions, but not reality. Then we have John Milton. He's quoted multiple times in House of Leaves. This scene is about a group of fallen angels in hell discussing philosophy. Then we have The House in Good Taste by Elise de Wolf. It's a real book. Okay. From the first line in the chapter on halls and staircases, I copied and pasted this from that chapter. In early days, the hall was the large formal room in which the main business of the house was transacted. It played the part of courtroom, with the lord of the manor as judge. It was used for dining, living, and for whatever entertainment the house afforded. The stairs were not a part of it. They found a place as best they could, From the times of the primitive ladder of the adobe dwelling to the days of the spiral staircase carried up in the thickness of the wall, the stairway was always a primitive affair born of necessity with little claim to beauty. In several of the finer houses that have been built recently, notably that of Mrs. O.H.P. Belmont, the staircase is enclosed and is in no way an architectural feature, merely a possible means of communication when needed. She says, above all, don't try to make your hall pretty. Remember that a hall is not a living room, but a thoroughfare open and used by all the dwellers in the house. Don't be afraid of your halls and stairs looking cold. It is a good idea to have one small space in your house where you can go and sit down and be calm and cool. And though I doubt Naviton and his friends would appreciate that advice. We take it for granted that every woman is interested in houses, that she has either a house in course of construction or dreams of having one, or has had a house long enough wrong to wish it right. And we take it for granted that this American home is always the woman's home. This is in reference to Karen versus Will in regards to the house. A man may build and decorate a beautiful house, but it remains for a woman to make it a home of it for him. It is the personality of the mistress that the home expresses. Men are forever guests in our homes, no matter how much happiness they may find there. You will express yourself in your house whether you want to or not, so you must make up your mind to a long preparatory discipline. And she also references this staircase at Westover House in Virginia, which I thought was really cool looking and really kind of labyrinthine with this kind of weird spiral thing. So, yeah, I thought that was neat. Practicalities is the next quote. It's from an essay called House and Home, which you can find here. The house a woman creates is a utopia. She can't help it. Can't help trying to interest her nearest and dearest, not in happiness itself, but in the search for it. As if the search were the point of the whole thing, not something to be rejected. Lots of women never solve the problem of disorder, of the house being overrun by the chaos families produce. That sort of woman simply shifts disorder from one room to another, moves about or hides it in cellars, disused rooms, trunks, or cupboards. The woman is the home. So this is about connecting, the idea of the house reflecting the psychology of the people living in it, and what role Karen would have in that. Because we often think about Will's role in it, but we don't often think about Karen's role in it. I think that's an important thing to consider. 652. Misery. We're talking about this play here by Chekhov. It's a story about a man trying to share the grief after his son's passing, but no one seems to care. And it has this quote, "To whom shall I tell my grief?" Yeah, so again, we have a son passing. Could Johnny be dead? Young Pliny, again, he previously wrote a letter about his uncle's death to Tacitus. The letter was also to Tacitus in response. This letter that is quoted here is in response to Tacitus's response to that previous letter. Okay, so Tacitus said, "Hey, young Pliny, tell me about your uncle's death." Young Pliny told him about his death. Tacitus wrote back about the death, and young Pliny's now writing him again. Okay, that's what's happening. He speaks about how he saved his mother during the aftershocks of the volcanic eruption at the Palace of Urkala, which is an ancient... Oh, and what the heck? Yeah, this is something different. Yeah, how he saved his mother during the aftershocks of the volcanic eruption. So it killed his uncle, but he managed to save his mom. Then we have the Palace of Urkala, mentioned here, in regards to the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was quoted on page 347 as well. It's the ancient Mesopotamian underworld, and Enkidu was sent to the underworld by Gilgamesh, and he must follow this set of rules, and I explain those in my notes on page 347. And you go to the underworld via staircase in this mythology. And it also mentions the Queen of Darkness, which is Ereshkigal, ruler of the underworld. Some of the myths have her ruling the underworld alone, and others give her a husband. So again, that question of Pelifina, and who she was actually with, Was she with Donnie or Zampano or no one? Is God the father of Johnny? Who knows? Who knows? 653. Let's go to this page. We have this poem, Memory, by Walter Savage Landor, and I have the poem here. The mother of the muses, we are taught, is memory. She has left me. They remain, and shake my shoulder, urging me to sing about the summer days, my loves of old. Alas, alas, is all I can reply. Memory has left me with that name alone. Harmonious name which other bards may sing, but her bright image in my darkest hour comes back in vain, comes back called or uncalled. Forgotten are the names of visitors ready to press my hand but yesterday. Forgotten are the names of earlier friends whose genial converse and glad countenance are fresh as ever to mine ear and eye. To these, when I have written and besought remembrance of me, the word dear alone hangs on the upper verge and waits in vain. A blessing wert thou, O oblivion, if thy stream carried only weeds away. But vernal and autumnal flowers alike it hurries down to wither on the strand. So I thought this section here, memory has left me with that name alone, harmonious name, which other bars may sing, but her bright image in my darkest hour comes back in vain, comes back called or uncalled. And I thought that could be in reference to Delisle, the photograph that Navidson took of the dying child. Yeah, and how he is affected by that. And here on the next one we get Leith, the River of Oblivion, which is one of the rivers of the underworld in Greek mythology. It flowed around the cave of Hypnos, who is the personification of sleep. And Hypnos is an offspring of Nyx, who is his mother, but he has no father. So again, that question of paternity. Drinking from it will cause complete forgetfulness. Shades of the dead were only able to be reincarnated after drinking from that river. It's referenced in Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 5, by the ghost, who says, "And duller should those be than the fat weed that roots itself in ease on Leith Wharf." There's also a real river in Alaska with this name as well that flows through the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, which is filled with ash flow from the eruption of Nova Rupta in 1912. And actually, let me show you a picture of this. So there's another picture that was supposed to be in House of Leaves. Where's the copy? Oh, it didn't. That was also about a place that was affected by a volcanic eruption in Hawaii. And these looked really, like, kind of similar. Like this kind of dark landscape. Valley of 10,000 Smokes. Isn't that really cool? And we know that Johnny is familiar with Alaska. Sylvia Plath, she's referenced on page 637 by her pseudonym, her nom de plume, when she published The Bell Jar. We have a reference to this guy, Joseph Theodore Korzenowski, known in English as Joseph Conrad. This book is about Lord Jim, who is a first mate on a ship that begins to sink, referencing possibly reference to the atrocity that we learned about in House of Leaves. So the captains and the crew, including Jim, abandon the ship and the people aboard. They later find out that the passengers were rescued, and then Jim is kind of plagued by the guilt of his actions, that he left this boat and these people to die. Yeah. And so that references like Johnny on the ship and his watching the people drown. So the Haitian man, I believe. We have Battle of Maldon, which is referenced on page 71 by Johnny and on page 601 by Pelafina. It's an old English poem. Okay, next page. Jacques Derrida is mentioned at least 10 times. In House of Leaves. And Glass, the book, is referenced on page 112 and 545. Okay, O.W.D.L. Millows. Oh gosh, I'm going to try and pronounce this. Oscar Vladislav de Lupich Millows. He's actually quoted in Poetics of Space by Bachelard, which is also referenced multiple times here, 188, 333, and 400. and the quote he uses it is the silence rather that obliges the poet to listen and gives the dreamer greater intimacy. He quotes him more times. I say, mother, and my thoughts are of you, O house, house of the dark, lovely dark summers of my childhood. This connection between mother and house. Again, Pelafina and the House of Leaves. These. Oh, these are other quotes from him. Okay, sorry, I was confused about my notes here. Some other quotes from all infinity can be contained in this stone corner. Part of the hallway could have said to be like a hallway in a corner, and then it opens up and it's infinite down there, right? While the high wind yelps the names of women long dead, or the sound of bitter old rain on a road. Listen, now there's nothing but complete silence. Listen. Women long dead being Pelafina. As I stood in contemplation of the garden of the wonders of space, I had the feeling that I was looking into the ultimate depths, the most secret regions of my own being. And I smiled because it had never occurred to me that I could be so pure, so great, so fair. My heart burst into singing with the song of grace of the universe. All these constellations are yours. They exist in you. Outside your love, they have no reality. How terrible the world seems to those who do not know themselves. When you felt so alone and abandoned in the presence of the sea, imagine what solitude the waters must have felt in the night, or the night's own solitude in a universe without end. That's kind of like the opposite, the opposite section, the opposite experience, rather, of Naviton and his crew in House of Leaves. They were not so pure, so great, so fair. They did not know themselves. Most of it. Where is it? We're on this page. The most of it. Robert Frost. There's some sections that were cut out here, and I just thought I'd include them because they were interesting. He thought he kept the universe alone, for all the voice and answer he could wake was but the mocking echo of his own, from some tree-hidden cliff across the lake. Some morning from the boulder-broken beach he would cry out on life that what it wants is not its own love back and copy speech, but counter-love, original response. And nothing ever came of what he cried, unless it was the embodiment that crashed in the cliff's callus on the other side. And then the far distant water splashed, but after a time allowed for it to swim, instead of proving human when it neared him and someone else additional to him, as a great bucket powerfully appeared, pushing the crumpled water up ahead, and landed pouring like a waterfall, and stumbled through the rocks with horny tread, and forced the underbrush, and that was all. And I thought that was interesting that we have this deer coming up, this tree-hidden cliff, mocking echoes. These are all things that are happening in House of Leaves. We have a whole chapter on echoes, the whole tree motif throughout it, and this whole idea of love, and how it saves Navidson. And Frost had this to say about his poetry. No tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. No surprise for the writer, no surprise for the reader. For me, the initial delight is in the surprise of remembering something I didn't know I knew. Poetry must be a revelation, or a series of revelations for the poet as for the reader. For it to be that there must have been the greatest freedom of the material to move about in it, and to establish relations in it regardless of time and space, previous relation and everything but affinity. So, I thought that was interesting. Man and the Echo, you can read the full poem here. The poem begins, man in a cleft that's christened alt, under broken stone I halt, at the bottom of a pit that broad noon has never lit, and shout a secret to the stone, all that I have said and done. So this echo that's not going to come back to him. Thought that was interesting. 6:55. We're jumping to here. Chemin de fer. It's French for railway, which literally means iron path. And Elizabeth Bishop, her mother was mentally ill and institutionalized. I thought that was interesting. One of the buttons on my shirt had disappeared. This poem is about a dead man who returns and worries about the buttons on his shirt. And we know that Johnny loses his buttons on his shirt. I reference the pages here, 16, 150, and 514, 16 in the introduction. George Herbert. This is an interesting poem, Easter Wings, which is written like that. This is not sideways. This is the way the poem is printed. It looks like wings, so it's playing with the text on the page like House of Leaves does. And then he also has this poem, Altar, which looks like an altar. Simone Weil, this full quote is, "To love God through and across the destruction of Troy and of Carthage," so we already have references to these in House of Leaves, "and with no consolation. Love is not consolation, it is light. The reality of the world is the result of our attachment. It is the reality of the self which we transfer into things. It has nothing to do with independent reality. That is only perceptible through total detachment. Should only one thread remain, there is still attachment. Attachment is a manufacturer of illusions, and whoever wants reality ought to be detached. As soon as we know that something is real, we can no longer be attached to it." I thought that was interesting as well. In Cahier, I only know that because I'm Canadian, and that's like the only French word I know. Cahier is French for notebook. Okay. We're almost done with the quotes. 656, if not of the sun, and I always go S-U-N or S-O-N when the sun is mentioned. This is a poem, is an oscillation between an attitude that everything is as unreal as real can be, and its counterpart that we keep coming back and coming back to the real. One of the quotes says, "Suppose these houses are composed of ourselves." It's actually a really long poem. You can see here, it is an incredibly long poem. You can see my little scrolly thing here. Yeah, it's a long poem. Anyways, this quote is from the first part of the book. It says, "The eye's plain version is a thing apart, the vulgate of experience, of this a few words, and yet, and yet, and yet. As part of the never-ending meditation, part of the question that is giant himself, of what is this house composed of, if not of the sun? These houses, these difficult objects dilapidate, appearances of what appearances, words, lines, not meanings, not communications, dark things without a double after all, unless a second giant kills the first, a recent imagining of reality, much like a new resemblance of the sun, downpouring, upspringing and inevitable, a larger poem for a larger audience, as if the crude collops come together as one, a mythological form, a festival sphere, a great bosom, beard, and being alive with age." Like that. And then we have Eros Tyrannos, which is about a woman trapped in a loveless marriage by psychological control and the expectations of society, and she's afraid of being alone. Does that describe Karen, maybe, perhaps, thought? Some significant lines from this poem here. Not as long as the other one, but still. "The falling leaf inaugurates the reign of her confusion. The pounding wave reverberates the dirge of her illusion. And home, where passion lived and died, becomes a place where she can hide, while all the town and harbor side vibrate with her seclusion. Or like a stairway to the sea, where down the blind are driven." That was interesting. And Tyrannos is an ancient Greek word for absolute ruler, tyrant. So this is like tyrant of love, or lover's tyrant is what the title means. Rilke is the next reference here, and he's referenced multiple times. 28, 87, and 494. The pages he's referenced on. And then we have Canto, I don't know what C is in Roman numerals. but this canto by Ezra Pound. Find it here. And this quote that is from the poem somewhere. Literae nihil senatus, literature cures nothing. I thought that was interesting. And this is a interesting poem. I made references here to possible references in House of Leaves. Many errors, so well-known memoir, to a little rightness to excuse his hell in my paradiso. And as to why they go wrong, thinking of rightness, and as to who will copy this palimpsest, I have that word on page 564, al poco giono ed al gran sericio d'ombro, but to affirm the gold thread in the pattern, to the little day and to the great circle of shadow. And Johnny is referred to as gold by Pelafina, so maybe like is he the gold thread that pulls everything together in House of Leaves? And then we have a reference to Cool Hand Luke, which is a book that was turned into a movie based on the author's own life about stories that he heard in prison. So again, a nesting egg of real life experience turned into a movie, turned into essays, turned into a book, turned into a bigger book, turned into me making videos about it. Yeah. This line comes from a scene where Luke is playing a poker game where he wins by bluffing and his cards are actually worth nothing. Okay, Appendix 3. We move on to more pictures. This is a picture book, after all. This is the works of Hubert Howe Bancroft. So, interesting thing about Bancroft, he often published writing by others under his own name, fitting others' writings into a narrative of history as Bancroft saw it. This literary factory-style production resulted in writing an uneven quality. By modern standards, Bancroft would not be considered the author of many of the works he attributed to himself, and he often failed to give adequate credit to the contributing writers. So I thought that was interesting. And this volume 28 is about the northwest coast of North America. And you can see the book here. It is, in fact, a real book. Go full screen here. And Johnny says this book doesn't exist on page 20 of the introduction, but it does. It's a real book. Okay. At this page, Tyler Martin. See, we say things on the internet never die, but they do. I tried so hard to find this image online. He's a real artist, but I can't find an active page for him right now. Meguzine was not real. It could be a reference to Mr. Magoo, who's a blind cartoon character. So, House of Leaves, right? He talks about it here. This from 2006. He talks about the House of Leaves thing, and the image link is dead. Yeah, so that's interesting if you want to read that. I don't think it says anything really, except for the fact that he just found it. Yeah, he has an archived website here. There's some of his other artwork. Hasn't been updated since 2003. And then he actually did cartoons of Poe, Marcy Danilewski's sister. So that's Annie Danilewski and oh, that's not very flattering, is it? Yeah, did cartoons of her. 660. This is not real. Like, it's real, but it's not famous real. Makes sense. It was made for the book. Mazarine is actually a color. It's a shade of blue. There's also a Mazarin library in France. Gosh, there's a lot of windows open here. Let's just I have to specify color. So, I don't know, it's one of these colors. This is where I saw someone talk about it. And I was wearing this shade of blue. 661. There is a real Sarah Newberry from Austin, Texas, who has a master's degree in architecture and landscape architecture from Harvard's Graduate School of Design. I don't know if this is actually her work, but it's a real person. 662. This picture was actually taken by Mark Ziedanowski's sister. And Talmor Zedakter, on page 708, you get a reference to TZD, Talmor Zedakter Depository, which could be a reference to, wow. I didn't write it in here. To Tad Danilevsky, who's Mark C. Danilevsky's father. A possible anagram for it is Mortal Z Curated. Yeah. Oh, and for the index, I wrote that I'm not crazy enough to tackle this. Maybe one day. I have tackled some of the footnotes in here that seemed impossible, but I'm not doing the index. Not anytime soon. So I don't have notes on the index. If you have notes, please share them. I'd be interested to see that. Credits are all real works. I put the page references here. I'm not going to go through and find them for you. Have Ink Dark Moon. Oh, the book, Ink Dark Moon, is a translation of poems by Izumi Shikibu, who is referenced on page 650. Talmor, this Zedakor Depository, TZD probably, perhaps reference to MZD's father. Tad Deuce, yeah, that name right there. I'm not even going to try. Danilevsky. Last part of each name. Mortuary, like Talmor, mortuary. I don't know. It's probably why it's misspelt. Depository is misspelt. Andrew Bush. Where's his name? Oh, see, I really got to highlight these things. Andrew Bush. I wrote notes about him on page 64, so go back to those notes. Gil Kaufman, as a real person, he worked with Mark C. Danilevsky on a documentary about Derrida, who is quoted throughout House of Leaves. And then we have, this is the last page. The last page of House of Leaves, page 709. And I chose to include this poem about a sonnet to Orpheus from Rilke, because Rilke is referenced multiple times, Orpheus is referenced multiple times. So let's put them together. There the tree rises, O pure surpassing, O Orpheus sings, O great tree of sound, and all is silent, and from this silent arise new beginnings, intimations, changings. From this stillness animals throng out of the clear, snapping forest of lair and nest, and thus they are stealthy, not from cunning, not from fear, but to hear. And in their hearts the howling, the cry, the stay call seem too little, and where before was but the rudest shelter to receive these, a refuge fashioned out of darkest longing, entered tremulo, the door past a quiver. There you have fashioned them a temple for their hearing. And then we have this dot. And I thought possibly the dot on page 312, this dot here, could reference a footnote to this page. That's my idea there. And what the heck is Yggdrasil? Yggdrasil is an ash tree that splits into every known reality. It has 3 roots. It translates to Odin's steed. On page 564, we get a poem by Apollinaire that is titled Horse. So horse is significant in House of Leaves. So Odin apparently hung himself for 9 days on this tree in order to acquire knowledge of the runic alphabet. And he lost his eye at this time. And we can see on page 523 that Navidson has also lost his eye. And what knowledge did he acquire? The text here, we could say, is written like a nail, perhaps. Like this. It's a nail. From the last Pelican poem on page 580, we get this quote. If there were a clue worth holding on to, it was the nail, the strongest point that alone at first fixed and recreated the house. And the French word for nail is clou. I thought that was interesting. So that's it. I am done. My notes on House of Leaves. It's been a very long journey. Thank you for coming with me on this journey, this very long, hopefully thorough journey, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on House of Leaves and references and notes and everything on it. And I'm going to get started, hopefully eventually sometime, on working on theories and such. Okay? Thank you for watching.